Something that I've wanted to touch on for a little while now, and as always, guys, I would love to know what you guys think about this down below, is the MMA Guru and his idea to fix fighter pay himself, along with potentially the fans. We're going to talk about this. We're going to take a look at some of the top replies to get an idea what the MMA community is saying about it. I'm going to react to it, and again, I would love to know what you guys think down below afterwards. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's start off with this initial post from the MMA Guru, and again, a little bit late to this news over here, but this is something that I wanted to talk about for a little while. In 2025, I'm planning to set up a 10K robbery insurance bank reserved for fighters on their first and second contract that get badly robbed. I can afford 10K per card. New fighters that would otherwise have had a career derailed by an awful decision will get a 10K bonus win from me. He continues on with one more post about it. The point of this is to take matters into my own hands, bring spotlight onto the judging, and almost embarrass the UFC by me even needing to do this in the first place, so they finally take action. Spread the word. I want things to change, so I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I really, really like this. And of course, we're not going to be able to see if the MMA Guru is actually going to put his money where his mouth is until 2025 comes. But if he's posting something like this and something really, really important like this, then I would imagine, and I kind of trust the Guru for this, just kind of eyeballing it, been watching the guy for a long time. He seems like a genuine person. I know, like, there's, of course, memes and jokes everywhere on the channel, so he does a lot of unserious things, but he's been very real about fighter pay for a really long time. The only thing that I really, really hard disagree with, and I have a long time video if you guys want to go check that out, a video I made a long time ago where I talk about my disagreements with the fighter pay. I don't think fighters necessarily deserve things. I actually agree with the point, like, this is not a career. This is an opportunity more so than a career, but at the end of the day, the UFC is still a career, right? But not to get into that entire conversation, the only thing that I've also disagreed with about the MMA Guru is when he gets a little bit upset, and it comes from an understandable spot. Let's take, like, UFC 300, for example. Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje getting the bonus, and I think Max Holloway got 2 bonuses, if I'm not mistaken about that. He doesn't like the idea, and a lot of fans don't like the idea of giving a bonus to somebody who's already a millionaire when you can help out somebody who can have that life-changing money. I disagree with that. It would be nice to see. I would rather somebody who isn't a millionaire get the bonus. It'd be a lot better for their own life, but at the end of the day, Max Holloway deserved every little bit of a bonus that night, and I think it would have been wrong to give to somebody else. So that's where I'm sitting here, and I disagree with the MMA Guru's take on fighter pay, but I want to take a look at some of the top replies over here, and for the first time, we're actually going to take a look at myself for a top reply. But just to get an idea what people are talking about and what people are thinking about this. So this is what I had to say. If this is something that fans can donate towards to make the pool bigger, I would absolutely participate. And I mean every single word of that. If MMA Guru ever has something like this, I would be happy to donate into this. And the MMA Guru actually ended up replying to it. Exactly. This just needed a fan base behind it. MMA, we could really just fix fighter pay when you think about it. And it's really, really cool to see because don't get me wrong, I'm not rich or anything, so I would be donating like a little bit of money, but imagine the influence that the MMA Guru has, and you have a ton of fans who really care about these fighters throwing in just a little bit of money here and there. That pool would get huge in no time, and along with the MMA Guru saying that he can afford 10K per card, that's actually insane. That's really crazy. But I want to take a look at a couple more replies to this, top replies, see what people were talking about. Everyone else that talks nice about the fighters but won't stand on crap when it comes to helping them. Guru talks mad crap about the fighters but actually cares about them, so he does this. This is like an actual friendship dynamic, lol. Good. And it is really cool to see, but the interesting thing is this reply over here, which I wasn't planning on touching. I just read it right now. He'd only donate to fighters he likes. If any of them discredit or talk crap about him, he'd revert to his usual outline of throwing his toys out of his having a tantrum on X. Okay. This is going to be really, really interesting because there are a lot of fighters that the MMA Guru really, really doesn't like. The right thing to do, obviously, is if somebody was robbed, then you help them out. That's what it's all going to be for. I don't want this, or I know it's not my thing. I understand. I can only say so much about it, but I wouldn't want this. I wouldn't want to participate, and I certainly wouldn't donate if this ends up being a thing. Well, we're only going to give money to fighters that we like, but I think it's worth hearing him out. I think it's worth giving him a chance before we start jumping to, okay, well, he's not going to give any money to, I can't think of a fighter he hates off the top of his head, off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but you get the point. There are a lot of fighters that the MMA Guru really, really doesn't like. What if it comes to that? I guess we'll have to wait and see. So let's continue on to another post by Jimbo, and I wanted to, I wanted to include this one, but obviously I can't play it for copyright reasons. MMA Guru and a crotch sniffer is on a 12K gets robbed at the Apex, and of course it's that one Breaking Bad clip where it's like, your half? There is no your half of the money. There is only my all of it. So this is another thing like I was just talking about. We'll need to wait and see if he continues to actually donate to these people. If I had to assume so, I don't know, because it'd be hard to give up 10K of your own money to someone you really, really dislike, and he's not entitled to it. But if he's advertising something like this, and especially if he gets fans involved in it, I'm not saying he will, might just be his own thing. We'll have to wait and see what comes from that. But I want to take a look at one more post from the MMA Guru himself. People already talking about how this doesn't make sense. In 2016 or 2026 to 2027, this could turn into a small 3 to 5K finishing bonus for first contract fighters. In 2028, who knows what? Somebody's got to get these guys a little bit more pay, and it's not going to happen whining to Dana on Twitter all day. This is exactly true. This is what I like about what the Guru is doing, because everybody is so quick to go online and be like, Dana White's so evil. Dana White doesn't pay anybody. And you know what? You can have your voices heard. There's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but nothing's going to come from it. My favorite people are the types of people who are really just dogging on Dana White, but they like, oh, fixed fighter pay. Dana White, you are so evil. Yet they stream every single card. Like, you have no business, if you do not support the UFC, you have no business talking about fighter pay. And I don't even want to hear like, oh, well, I'll start paying for cards once Dana White fixed fighter pay. You're not going to do that. You're going to stream it illegally anyways. I just really like that for once we're seeing somebody who constantly talks about fighter pay and constantly talks about these people being underpaid and actually doing something about it. Could you imagine after all of this and all of this noise that the MMA Guru made, because he actually made a video on it as well. Imagine after all of this noise, he ends up just scrapping it completely. I mean, he has every right to do so, but I hope that he actually goes through with this. 10K per card, like, could you imagine being one of those fighters that have been robbed, like those really, really bad robberies, people that might lose their livelihood because they're cut from the UFC because of one more loss, just because somebody is a little bit more favorable with the fans. The UFC does have a huge judging problem. And you know what? I wonder how the UFC would react to it, because something like the MMA Guru doing this, like the MMA Guru has a name in the entire MMA space right now. Fighters know who he is. Interviewers know who he is. The media knows who the MMA Guru is. And I would imagine that the top of the UFC, the people like Dana White, also know about the presence of the MMA Guru. I find it fascinating how he has accumulated that. You know what I mean? But I just wonder if they'll ever acknowledge it, because you don't really see the UFC or Dana White talking about fighter pay all that much. And again, I think it's blown out of proportion. I think for the most part, like, long story short, if you don't want to go watch my other video on it, very long story short, I think a lot of these fighters need to be grateful for the position that they're in. And I do agree that you do have an opportunity to make a name for yourself. Look at Sean O'Malley. Look at all the social media rounds that he's doing. Look at the people who actually try. But I get it in the sense where it's like, oh, well, it's a sport. You shouldn't have to just go on social media and trash talk people. I understand that. But at the end of the day, it's an opportunity. Not going to get into that entire conversation. Have a whole video talking about it if you guys are interested, which I will try to do my best to link at the end of the video. But regardless, man, I'm sure it will reach a point if this, like, let's assume this actually takes place. 10K a card, the MMA Guru, if he sees a robbery, he's donating to that fighter. The fighters are going to be talking about it. The fans are going to be talking about it. And Dana White is going to get asked about it. And here, and it's important to note that I'm not coming from a spot where I'm hating on Dana White or anything. I love Dana White. He's an inspiration to me. But I can imagine Dana sitting there going, who? What's he doing? What's he doing? Just not acknowledging it really. But if this keeps happening, the robberies are getting worse. The judging is getting insane, like to the point where a fight can end and nobody is sure anymore who's going to end up winning the fight. It would have to make some groundbreaking rounds, assuming that this continues to take place. Or like after it takes place, it's not just one card and it's like card after card. The MMA Guru is dishing out fighter bonuses. Could they do something to update the card or the contracts of the fighters where they can't receive anything like that? Something like how you can't receive any other sponsorships? I don't know. I'm really, really interested to see how this will play out. If obviously the nice thing would be to just let the MMA Guru donate to fighters. Even Dana White at some point says that fighters have been robbed, but at what point is Dana White like in on the rigging of scorecards, right? It's very important to note also that I do not believe any fights that are rigged, any of them, but I do believe the judges are told like, hey, we need this guy to win no matter what. Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon comes to mind first, but that happens so much. you see a certain fighter from a certain area that the UFC is trying to break into, or a certain fighter from a certain hometown that they're having the event at, and you just know that they're going to win if it goes to a decision. It's crazy to me how out of control this judging has gotten, and it's really nice to see somebody with a significant amount of influence who doesn't have to do this, but he's actually putting his money where his mouth is, and he's actually doing something about it, instead, to use his words, crying on Twitter all day about UFC fighter pay. This is an insanely generous thing to do, and if the MMA Guru does end up doing this, we need to support it, we need to donate, we need to encourage this as much as possible, because realistically, who's going to give out 10K of their own money? Even if you were a millionaire, you are not going to give 10K your money. It takes a special kind of person to do that, and if somebody is really actually doing that, they need to be accommodated, they need to be helped, they need to be encouraged. That is a fantastic thing and a generous thing that the MMA Guru is doing, and I cannot wait to see where this ends up going, because I think there are a lot of fighters who fight their hearts out and get their livelihood robbed from them, cut from the UFC, on losing streaks. They lose, they sacrifice their win bonus, they sacrifice opportunities just because of something that's a little bit out of their control. I love this. I can't wait to see where this goes. Thank you very much for being here. Let me know down below what you think. Thank you for watching. If you are interested, I have that video talking about fighter pay on screen right now if you want to check it out. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.